Hello, Henry Longard back in his little video corner with the slightly improved 24-string iridescent Nightingale. I've moved this box up 2 inches. You can see the holes where it used to be, and that means I have a lot more room down here in the bottom for strumming purposes, but it also means I can move this bar up to here. And first I'll show you what it's like with this at the lowest setting, and then I'll show you using my harmonic trick where I have to take this damper off. But so that's, oh yes, and I put this top note in everything. It's actually conceptually an A. It's the 2 of the second note in the scale, but I can tune it down to the first. But actually that doesn't sound so bad in most chords, like over here. Not bad. It is pretty quiet, and it is a little harder to reach than my usual drone, which is usually on the other side. The other thing is that in this lowest position, the low notes are really low, and you can only get to them here in the key of what normally would be D or 2, or I should say 5. Sticky here. But those low notes obviously come higher if you move the bridge up and contribute a little more. They have a lot of trouble being sounded because they're so low, period. Low notes don't make for good chords. They like to be solo. It's good to clean the bottom of your chord out so that there are, no thirds or anything down the bass. There might be thirds here. I can't remember if I put them in or not. I probably did because I'm lazy. Also because I like to play melodies that go down. And when you move this up, they're not down anymore. They're higher frequencies. So another thing I've done besides putting this by the way, this bottom chord is being experimentally tested with neoprene felts. You can sort of see them. They're only half as high because it's a very skinny neoprene, so I had to pad this out a little bit. But they damp pretty well, and of course they're not felt, so they don't fuzz up, and they don't do other things that felt does. So I'm really interested in working with this neoprene as a thing. And the other thing that I've done is I put in one of my chords that I've had lying around on polyharp, and I might make more of them, but it's with the limited number of notes to deal with. This one is probably the most maximal. I might shuffle it around. Anyway, what is it? Well, if you take an F major, F-A-C, so to speak, and then you stick on top of it a C major, C-E-G, you stick on top of that a G major, G-B-D, and on top of that an F major, or I should say a D major, D, F sharp A, you can actually make a chord with all those plus a number of relative minors in the middle. And it sounds like this. So it's a chord that repeats on fifths instead of on octaves. And that means that this F and this F sharp are in the same chord, but it doesn't matter because they're so far away they don't interact with each other. Now, what use is this? It's a very, very, very rich chord, and yet spaced out. That means that if you just alternate between that and some other chord, you can sort of get stuff going. Oh, another thing is that if you play it as a sort of lock note, basically a whole lot of the other chords that I play show up in it. So for example, I'm still calling this G, even though this is tuned down to something like B flat, I can't remember. There's the full G, and here's the amped out version of it, and then here it is. Or if you do it with this D, or this F. That's way down at the bottom. Or this C-ish. So if you play in just a small area, you'll be in one key, and then as you move up, you go to the neighboring key. Sounds a little better, of course, when you move the bridge up, because everything will be transposed up into a more audible frequency. One of the things I actually like about this is that it's lower than the usual auto harp. It's more tenory on the bass side, actually, when it's way down here, and not so tinkly, even though those are fairly high notes. Not as high as a normal auto harp, but yeah. So I'm going to go and move the bridge and come back. See ya. And I'm back. Now I moved the bridge way up here. It's actually dividing each string in half, but I still have the damper on, so you're not going to get the effect that'll happen when I take the damper off. But you'll hear it's a lot more tinkly sounding. So it's a lot, sounds like a different instrument because the bridge is in a place where it normally isn't. And of course all the strings are shorter. You can actually... Oh yeah, the big magic chord sounds like this now. So if you play that with like this. Anyway, now I'm going to take this off, and what you'll get is this normal kind of note with the resonance that comes from dividing the string in half and having a sympathetic string playing at the same time. Okay, it's off now. That is to say, the damper is, and these strings are now divided exactly in half. Let's pick a different one. Or this one. That one sounds a little flat. But they're certainly close enough to resonate. If I do like that. Still going. What happens when you do a chord? I've taken my picks off just to make things a little quieter maybe. So it sounds like there's an effect on it, but in fact there is nothing there. It's just the normal strings behaving like strings, which are normally suppressed from behaving like that, especially in this situation. Now, imagine if this were really long, I could have even lower strings, but or if I tune this and adjust intonation, I'd get more resonances out of each string because they would be part of the harmonic series that is part of its timbre. But at any rate, let's see if I can play something here that is kind of creepy. And you see, I can't do this without having moved this up 2 inches because this would have bumped right into all the chords where they were. Now, another trick you can do is actually damp it while you're playing. I was doing this on the other iridescent Nightingale, which is much easier to move the chord box around on. But so you can shut these off to get a timbral difference between, these things. Normally you can get other ones, you're used to the timbral differences of playing near the bridge where there's a lot of harmonics and away from it where there aren't. But you combine that with this, and basically it's a sound of an instrument that you really don't hear a whole lot. It's not buzzing like a sitar. It's not doing the other kind of sympathetic drones that you hear out of other instruments that have them. I just think it's a really interesting sound. Not a particularly useful one. It also responds to your voice really well. Ha! It's like shouting into a piano, except it's a lot lighter than a piano. And so my magic chord over here, I could just play that. Whereas if I were to damp these, it would sound. I have to make some picks, finger picks, that like thumb picks are sticking off of the bottom of my fingers so that I can play with my hand damping. So you can also damp some of them, the bottom ones, while the top ones are live. I think that's really fascinating. I could put a few more of these chords in here, and then I could just go back and forth between them, playing in different ranges while the sympathetic strings struggle to keep up. But, that's the recent changes to this. The thing I might go on to do is, these are very pure chords. Stupid triad with a note up in the top. But I have my trick where I cut a notch in that doesn't go all the way, so that if you push hard, it stops being a notch and becomes a felt. I may do that on some of these. I'm not seeing that I have so much felt play here, but maybe I could cut really shallow notches and get that effect. In short, that's how I can turn a 1 into a 1 major 7th, a 2 into a 2 minor 7th, and so on, to go and add more rich chords in here without actually needing more chord bars. And there'll be more developments on this as it happens, because I think this is a very flexible platform. See you next time. Bye.